All right, welcome everybody. We have our recording going. We are 1 minute past. We'll probably give it another minute or two before we dive into the meat of our discussion today. First off, just thanks everyone for accommodating us. We decided to move this 1 week forward so that we could not have it on the holiday weekend. And even with that, I think that everyone on our team is really looking forward to the holidays and how that's going there. So everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining. Like I said, we'll give it just 1 more minute, and then RJ, are you prepared to lead us after a minute or two?
Sure am.
Okay, sounds delightful. I am going to ping over Sarah Jordan. I know that you guys are watching on us live on YouTube and LinkedIn. Can you just message over if we're live over there so we're good to go? Nice. Looks like we are live on YouTube. And looks like we are live on LinkedIn. So if you're joining us from YouTube or if you're joining us from LinkedIn, welcome. And RJ, I'm going to go ahead and say, would you share your screen and ask you to get us kicked off?
Perfect. Okay, you can see my screen. Awesome. So thanks for coming, guys. Today we're just going to review some of the cool new stuff coming out in Maestro and NeuralSeek. Also, kind of going to touch on some upcoming features. So to get started, we've got our changelog. So these are some of the things I'm going to highlight today. So we've made some improvements to API keys, context keeping. We've added support for Elastic's new semantic search type. We also added some really cool stuff in Maestro. So you're now able to process video and send that down to an LLM. We're also able to more intelligently break PDFs up into pages or multiple pages, helping you either generate content or, again, more intelligently indexing information, chunking information, processing it as it goes into a connected knowledge base. We also made OCR available as a callable node so that in these loops with images or PDFs as images, we're able to use OCR, the OCR model in a loop or programmatically, right? So to kind of dive into a few of these things, right? We'll start with the API keys. Something that's coming soon will be permissions on each API key, but today you now have the ability to create and revoke API key access. So I'm able to come in and create a new API key for our instance, use this from a REST API or integration, open API integration, and then be able to delete that and revoke access as needed, right? Something a lot of platforms have, and I'm excited to bring it to us. It's a widely asked for feature. Outside of that, we've got context keeping enhancements. So this is something I'm real proud to bring. We now support Hebrew as one of our built-in models. We all know that, a dedicated model for this stuff is going to run a lot faster than using an LLM to do categorization, part of speech tagging, things of that nature, right? So we brought here, where is it? Platform preferences. Great. So we all know that one of NeuralSeek's strengths is being able to carry context from message to message. Part of that is part of speech tagging, right? One of the underlying parts of context keeping is the ability to extract parts of speech and intelligently use that in the next message or the next KB query. All of that's managed for you until today. We now allow you to define your own Maestro flow for languages that we may not support, right? So we support English, Spanish, and Hebrew today with our built-in model. Now you can select model with Maestro fallback. So over in the Seek tab, we have the option to match input, right? So like if you're speaking in Italian, we'll respond to you in Italian. So what this will do is it enables you to use our fast grammar model in supported cases and then fall back to Maestro for languages that we don't yet support. That way, the LLM is giving us the parts of speech needed, the tags for us to efficiently use context in the next message. You can also use Maestro only if you maybe have your own part of speech tagging model that you'd like to use and not use ours, or perhaps a dedicated language model that's very fast for these purposes. Kind of an example of how this works is we have an example template. So let's go take a look. So you can see very small for our example, doesn't need to be incredibly complex. We're able to return either a JSON array of objects for part of speech, or alternatively, we're able to return a comma separated string of nouns from the input text. So in this case, I'm going to, yep, we've got it set to prompt. So um, so we'll evaluate that. And then you can see we use the LLM to extract the part of speech tags that we need. You may not need this full prompt in every situation, but it's an example for some of the smaller models like Llama 321 billion. It helps it tag correctly. And it's a very fast model, right? Um, Doing this, you're able to set which model you want to use, right? I can select out of the list, pick this model, and then save it as a template to be used in the configure tab, right? So you can kind of see we have the part of speech tags for each bit of text. Then we'll take that and process it behind the scenes. So this is a really cool feature because we let you use any language, right? When we go over to the Seek tab with that fallback, we'll be able to match input and effectively have context keeping in any language instantly. It's really cool. From here, we have some new features with Elasticsearch, right? So going back over to the configure tab, I think this instance is on Elastic. Yeah, it is. So we can look at the hybrid and vector search settings. Here we've had for a long time Lucene, which is keyword matching, right? Exact word matches. We've had vector search for a while, which is vector embeddings. It's an array of numbers. Now we've always had the hybrid search too, so it really does both queries at the same time, boosting the Lucene results, falling back to vector results if we don't find an exact match. Helps in a lot of use cases. We've now rolled out support for Elastic's built-in semantic search, which you can read more about on their website. But basically, it gives us a little bit smarter natural language processing with vector results. We now support that as one of our options, right? You just need to tell us which field the embeddings are set to and which inference endpoint you've set up. And you're done, right? We have a couple baked in examples for you to copy based on which model was used in the inference pipeline. Great. So from here, I have a couple more things in Maestro to show off, right? We've got video loops. So, we have an example template for all of these, right? Video loop, PDF loop, multimodal OCR. This one is a video loop, and we've got, an example video baked into the template. But you can use any video. You can upload a video and loop through each ones. So here we've got, you get video loop frame and video loop image per frame. So in this case, we're doing third of a frame per loop. No, sorry, 30 frames per second and 5 frames per loop. So we're effectively able to parallelize this and say we're going to process 5 frames at a time, all in parallel, and loop through the video. So you can see what this looks like live. So we're going to selectively pick a few frames to grab out of the video, and we now have like a summary of what this video was and what's happening. As you can see, this is kind of a breakdancing video, right? It's pretty neat. Being able to pass the images down to the LLM and have the LLM describe what's in the image in a loop. Then we rebuild a description to send to the LLM. Then we put those descriptions together, effectively giving us a summary, right? It's really neat here. Then, we have the same idea for PDF looping and also OCR. So again, we kind of set the instructions for the LLM and then loop through a PDF file. So maybe you have a 100-page PDF that you want to loop over those 100 pages, 10 pages at a time, and parallelize those LLM calls or ingestion calls. Maybe you want to break a PDF up into 1-page chunks in Elasticsearch. This lets you parallelize it and say, we're going to take the first page and send it to an LLM, send it to Elasticsearch, run it through an embedding model, and then through Elasticsearch all at the same time, letting us parallelize it. You saw in the last one how the output was kind of jumbled until it put it together at the end. We're able to actually see that hidden parallelism in the inspector. When we kick these off to a variable, you can see that we actually hit that as a parallel call. Perfect. Then the last one was OCR. So as we're looping through these by page, we actually create a few things. So we tell you what page number we're starting with. We give you the text of the page if there is text to be grabbed. Then we also pass a PNG image of the page itself that you're able to run through OCR. So over here, I have to search for it. There's so many options. Extract data right here. So OCR. So like for each one of these, instead of grabbing the text, maybe there's not really any text. We can just OCR the image instead. Just like that. I think that really wraps up this month's updates. We're looking at a lot of cool things coming up with agents in the month of January here after the holidays. Also, kind of looking at autocomplete for all of the values for each of these nodes. Today we have the ability to like click into variables that are used through the input through the flow. Pretty soon we're going to have a local database key store for like autocomplete for some of these items. It'll actually be really neat once we bring that out. Some of the things that you may have missed last month, we brought DQL filtering to Elasticsearch. So you're now able to set the filter field to DQL pushdown, dynamic query language pushdown. And we have a whole documentation page on how to use this, how to apply the filters, and what filters are available. This isn't 100% compatible with discovery query filters, but it eases the migration when you're going from like discovery to X discovery. Definitely eases the migration and lowers risks when migrating. We brought a new cost analyzer to the governance tab. So when you're on the bring your own model plan, you're able to look at cost insights for both Seek and Maestro, kind of giving you an idea of where your model is, how much it costs per, 1 million context tokens, and kind of being able to compare your current models to other models in the same class. As you can see, we have that for Seek and for Maestro. Looks like I might need to refresh here. Yeah, so we'll just look at the Maestro one. That's fine. Um, some other things, we have new HTML cleanser options. So when we go into Maestro or even in the configure tab, let's see. Right here. We can automatically cleanse scraped HTML pages. So if you use something like Puppeteer or some like third-party web crawler, sometimes even the crawlers built into your knowledge base, we give you the option to automatically cleanse the HTML pages in those supported KBs, and we let you add extra selectors for like CSS selectors, error modals, or maybe you have a specific section of pages that should not be indexed, table of contents, things of that nature that are very custom. You're able to tell us which selectors to remove. And it also lets you do that from the website data section when we're scraping one URL. We can still let you add CSS selectors to remove. Then we also have a bunch of new like code tools, right? So we have a code toolbox, lets you take LLM output and extract code, cleanse HTML, cleanse SQL data, right? So if I take this, let's do send to LLM. So when we evaluate this, we're going to see extra stuff, right? We're not going to just get the code that we want. We're going to see some examples, right? So let's do, and then we'll extract code. So you see the LLM generating, and then now we have just the code, nothing else. This works for SQL and HTML also, right? So we can test that with an SQL one. Also gives us a couple options. So, like, do we want to reformat the SQL? Do we only want to allow select statements so that there's no accidental updates? And then finally, we can kind of give you some direction on, like, hey, we're doing this for a Snowflake database. We probably should let the LLM know that it's a Snowflake database. And then in this node, we can validate it against Snowflake's syntax. So you see, we have a few examples. Yeah, so let's take a look. Okay, so yeah, we're getting a syntax error in it. But I think you get the idea, right? We're able to come in and give it some direction on which databases and the syntax associated with it. Helps you cleanse this and use LLM output more effectively. I think that really wraps up the updates for today. If we had any questions, comments, concerns, happy to answer. I see in chat. Do you recommend generating a separate API key per platform, for example, Watson versus Lex? It really depends on your use case and your need. We've been around for a couple years and we've always had one API key. So for most use cases, one API key is fine. Typically, multiple API keys is for different locations that might get might need disconnected or deleted, right? Um, One example could be limited time access, or it could be in the near future, we're going to offer permission-based access on the API keys. So in that case, one person might use an API key that's only able to touch Seek. And right now, this would be like user-based API keys, platform-based. It could be for like our learning labs when we want to offer limited access to an instance for a period of time. All options really depends on your need. Cool. Any other questions?
RJ, I have one more question around the API keys. If
Yeah.
I currently have a NeuralSeek instance, say I have like a Watson assistant chatbot that has a NeuralSeek extension and I utilize that API key. With this new update, do I need to generate a new one and update my chatbot?
I believe old API keys will still work. This allows you to generate new ones.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna.
Related, I have one more thing. I just remembered this. Related to the API keys. So we have a chat SDK that makes use of this, but you're also able to embed NeuralSeek into other pages by using the embed code. It's an alternative to the API keys, where an API key lets you change configurations and update data. An embed code only allows you to call Seek and Maestro, allowing you to like embed it into a web page, a search, or things like that, kind of tied into the API keys. I don't think we put this in our change log since it's still a little new, but it's an option that we actually use with the chat SDK built in. You can kind of see over here that the embed code is built in.
I have one more question around the Maestro video looping. I see
Yeah,
that the example uses that HTTPS, like a URL to access the video.
yeah,
Am I able to upload it under the upload data section
yep,
or? Okay,
yep. So these are two fields. They're both optional, but one of them is required. So either the URL or the video file, which I don't have a video file uploaded here, but you could. All right, I think that's back to you, Joy.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Shout out to anyone who joined us on YouTube live streaming or LinkedIn live streaming. And everyone have a delightful time, and we'll see you after the holidays.